welcome to Tarot Sherpa. I'm Christine, and today I will be reading to you from the Blood Moon Tarot by Sam Gway. What we're going to do is a choose your own adventure spread, short four card spread that is featured in the book that goes with the Blood Moon Tarot. And I particularly like this spread because that's kind of how I feel about tarot. I've had a lot of people, I wouldn't say ask me to read for them, but they get cautious about me reading for them because they're like, oh, I don't want to know the future. I'm afraid. It's like, well, no, there's no sense in being afraid because life is a choose your own adventure. This is only telling you potential. These are things that could happen based on your current actions. So you make your own reality. And so there's no sense in being afraid of analyzing what reality you're making, which is really what you're doing with tarot. What are you making for yourself? So let's see. What are you making for yourself? All right, let's find out. Now I'm going to pull an extra card because I like to pull one from the bottom of the deck to kind of like get a sense of maybe what's going on in the unconscious aside from the reading or something that informs the overall reading. So we're going to pull from the bottom and we have the Empress, feminine power, acceptance, vulnerability, also the nurturing and caring that that usually comes from the feminine. Also, if you're thinking about feminine power, you're thinking about duty, you're thinking about loyalty, you're thinking about, um, when, even though she actually was not an empress, but I think of Queen Elizabeth II, who was a person who was extremely dutiful in in her life and took her obligations to her people very, very seriously, and perhaps sometimes to the detriment of her family. But let's take this empress, um, that she's got all her bases covered. She's got it all. She's got it all covered. So it's a little bit of having it all. It's both duty and duty to the external, to your work, your obligations, your social groups, your social networks, also to your family and your friends and the people in your close circle. So we're going to choose our own adventure from the point of view of the Empress. So let's look at our first card. So this is you now. This is your energy, and we're in the Eight of Dreams. So if you think about dreams being our air suit, we're talking about something that's very much in the mind, in the head. This is something that's mental constructs, perhaps even spiritual constructs. And we look really closely at this card, which we will. Let's do that now. So we've got the card one. Let's get the Empress. We can see the Empress over here. She's going to inform us about what this stress is, because obviously if you look at this, something is coming after this person's throat, and so there's a sense of distress there. And that's kind of thematic with many of interpretations of the Eight of Dreams or the Eight of Swords or the Eight of Airs, that there's a sense of being trapped, but there's also a method of escape. This person is not completely ensnared by this terrifying thing that's got a hold of him or her. That's there's a means of escape. There's a means of being able to push back on this, whatever this thing is. And it could be a sense of overwhelm when we're talking about the Empress. Even people who can exemplify Empress qualities, they still have places where you just can't do it all. As I just mentioned, Queen Elizabeth, was very dutiful as a queen, but she was also a mother, and sometimes being a queen trumped being a mother. And that's how she felt that things had to be, and perhaps that was how they had to be, if you consider one of the longest active monarchies on earth. There's a certain burden of responsibility there. Anyway, so Eight of Dreams. Yeah, feeling trapped, but you're not completely trapped. You're not completely stuck in this situation. It's difficult, but there is a way out. Okay. Struggle, blockage, or obstacle card to King of Dreams. So, our King of Dreams, obstacles can also be opportunities. So, the King of Dreams, while we have the Empress being the queen of all queens, and if we think also that the Empress is the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Swords, or in this deck it would be the Queen of Skins, the Queen of Dreams, the Queen of Songs, the Queen of Honey. She's got all of it, and in fact, you kind of see that all in this card. There's a little bit of elements of everything there. What has to be mobilized in this struggle is your King of Dreams qualities. So, logic, decisiveness, insightfulness, being able to see things for what they are and deal with it accordingly. So, while this situation looks very, very troubling, feels very, very troubling, it's something that's very much going on in the mind. The solution to that, the obstacle or opportunity, is to get into your logical faculties. What is it that you can do about this situation? Where can you guide your thoughts to be channeled into something more productive rather than fearing the struggle, being able to see it for what it is and deal with it accordingly? So, your struggle is to analyze your struggle and try to get some logical distance there in order to find a good pathway forward. All right. King of Dreams can be a kind of a tricky card sometimes because he can be a little cold and ruthless in his negative qualities, but he can also be very logical, insightful, and decisive. And those are the qualities that you need to embody in this kind of situation. So, advice, past lessons. Let's come in with the Five of Songs. So we got to let broken things go. So if we look at the Five of Songs here, the instrument that the musician is holding has broken. If you think about the Five of Cups in many decks, it's usually something has spilled. 3 out of 5 cups are gone, but 2 cups are still left. This one, the instrument is broken, but the musician is still intact. The musician is okay. And so there's a lesson in this to let things go that need to be released. And that's where you've got to dig into your King of Dreams faculties here. What do you need to let go that is feeling like it's entrapping you? And it could be something as simple as, clearing out old clutter of things that don't serve you anymore, but they're blocking the energy in your home. And clutter clearing is very popular to say these days, because it's true. We all have a bunch of junk we need to get rid of, or many of us do anyway. But we could be talking about something a little more serious. It could be, recovering from an abusive relationship. It could be recovering from drug or alcohol abuse. It could be, um, having left a toxic job situation and now trying to find a new path of what you're going to do and who you're going to be, how you're going to define yourself after whatever this was has broken apart. The musician is still a musician, even if the instrument's broken. So, how is the musician going to carry forward and make a better future? All right, let's look into that. What's the aspiration or goal? 7 of Honey. So, got a little reflection on this card there. But 7 of Honey, and that is a card of growth. There's a certain sense of renewal. There's a certain sense of patience there, though, too, because in a state of growth, things don't just grow overnight unless it's bamboo. But most things aren't bamboo. It takes some time for things to grow. Yes, a stalk of bamboo can grow up to a meter in a day. But an oak tree takes decades. So it depends on what your situation is here. Could be a bamboo situation, could be an oak situation, but any situation, there has to be a sense of patience. You have to be able to study the situation. How is the growth going? Is there something you need to prune? Is there something you need to fertilize? Back to your King of Dreams here, you need to be able to look at the situation as objectively as possible, which is difficult because you're right in the middle of it. But to look at it as objectively as possible and figure out what things need to go, what things need to be cultivated in order to maintain a balance of all of the things that you're responsible for. To be able to maintain your own sense of being the empress, all of the things that you have to care for, all the things that you want to care for. And striving for balance, it does take time. It takes some self-reflection. And therein is the beauty of tarot, because it gives you a little permission perhaps to take time to analyze when maybe the rest of the world has come up with an answer now. And the tarot is like, no, you're not going to have an answer now. You need to take your time. And that's okay. That's okay. Things in the past haven't quite worked out. The composition was not what you needed it to be. And so it's time to figure out what you do need and give time for that to grow. Okay. Well, it's time to grow. I hope you enjoyed this tarot reading. I hope it was helpful to you. If you enjoyed this reading, please hit like. If you like this type of content, please subscribe. I will put a link to a review of the Blood Moon Tarot in the description box below. So if you want to see every card and how they progress through the deck, you can check that out. Like I said, I'll have the link below. Well, yeah, being the Empress is a hard work, but it's not fast work. We tend to be very, very speed oriented in this modern age. And so the Seven of Honey is going to let you know that it's okay to slow down and cultivate. All right. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Bye for now.